today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Welcome everybody back to the Morning Hockey Shot after a week off. We are back live on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. It is July 19th edition. I'm pretty sure Instagram is up and running because I think that the streaming service that I use have finally fixed up their meta issue that they had a couple of weeks ago. So I think Instagram is going live, which is awesome. This will go out also in podcast form. So if you are not a live listener on Facebook, YouTube or Instagram, I do clip this up and it goes out on Spotify and Apple. So if you're a podcast listener, hit the follow or the subscribe or whatever you have to do over there on your podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast on Spotify, Apple, you can find Morning Hockey Shot. So if you're traveling to watch some hockey this weekend across the country, Morning Hockey Shot, once this episode is done this morning, I'll get it uploaded onto the podcast form so you can listen to that while you're on your travels if you want to listen to me in your earlobes. We have a big show today. Obviously, we had a week off last week because I was traveling up to Canberra to check out the new AIS facility, which I'll get into a little bit later on the show, which was absolutely amazing. If you get a chance to go watch some hockey at AIS Arena, and the good thing is it's not just this season. So next season, the Brave will be there and potentially the season after as well. If you get a chance to go and watch the Brave play at AIS Arena. And our guest today, Lauchlan Eales, is a part of the Brisbane Lightning commentary team. And unfortunately, the Lightning haven't been able to play at AIS Arena this season. So it'll be, well, they might have actually. So if you're a Brisbane Lightning fan and you got over to there, drop a comment in the chat as well to let us know what you thought about AIS Arena. Big show today. So I'll jump into the menu and I'll just let everyone know what we're doing today. So obviously we've got Lauchlan Eales coming on the show, Brisbane Lightning commentator, to give us a bit of a take on the Brisbane Lightning this season and where they're heading. They've had a really, really good season in the Australian Ice Hockey League. Fresh new coach, some new imports, obviously, and their local talent continuing to get better each season. So we'll have a chat to Lauchlan about all things Brisbane Lightning. Got A's coaching change. So the Adelaide Adrenaline made a big change to their coaching ranks this week with the departure of the head coach. We'll talk about the Brave and the Ice because that is a massive, massive game this weekend. A big, big blockbuster between the Goodall Cup finalists from 2024. AIS Arena, I'll touch on that quickly because I had a big weekend up there in Canberra with the Canberra Brave. They were very, very generous with their time and giving me access to the arena. Bit of AIHL news, Australian Women's Ice Hockey League news with Jeff Fody departing the Adelaide Rush after one season. I did release an article on my website this week, so we'll get stuck into that as well. We'll have a look at the standings, the schedule, and also my pick of the week, which I always give my pick of the week of what game I am looking forward to. We do have some comments in the chat. Just quickly, Corey Katina saying, good morning from Minnesota. Good morning, Corey. Steve Moller, good morning as well. Sky Eastham is travelling up, a Melbourne Ice fan, travelling up to AIS. Looking forward to AIS today in Wings at Caribou Kingston. I did go to Caribou Kingston as well, so I'll actually touch on that as well, Caribou Kingston, a little bit later on. And Steve Moller just reminding me because a bit of a brain fart there. Yes, the Lightning did. They did. Absolutely, they did. I'm getting them mixed up with someone else who didn't play at AIS Arena this season. But there was big news out of the Adelaide Adrenaline this week, as we did see across their social channels. They did make a coaching change. So the Adelaide Adrenaline have mutually departed ways with Jade Galbraith. And whenever I see something like this, if you've got a comment about coaching changes in the Australian Ice Hockey League, drop it in the chat. I'll have a bit of a chat to Lauchlan when Lauchlan comes on as well about coaching changes and things like that. When I did hear the news, it was quite sad because I don't ever want to see a coach not succeed in this league, and it's a really tough league as well. And I did drop a comment in the live show that Oz Hockey Media ran on Thursday night, their hockey night in Australia. they did have Rob Hazelhurst on their show, and I did drop a comment in their chat because I do feel like a lot of coaches, because it's not, I suppose, Europe or North America, where at the highest level, I guess, the NHL, etc. Even I suppose the AIHL, the American Hockey League, things like that, where all the rinks are very similar or the same. There's a lot of variation in rinks here in Australia, size, ice surface, facilities, things like that. And I often think that when it comes to teams here and coaches, sometimes they're at the mercy of their plan or their structure, their systems, and the rinks that they actually play out of. So I think it does make a big impact. And unfortunately, Jade Galbraith of the Adelaide Adrenaline, the head coach, has lost his position in the top seat there at the Adelaide Adrenaline. 4 wins from 8 games played this season. One of the things that I noticed with the Adelaide Adrenaline this season, it was early struggles, and they started to get a little bit going. They just couldn't score enough goals this season. 58 goals this season. It's just not enough in this league, which is a very, very high-scoring league, the Australian Ice Hockey League. We see a lot of high scores each season in the Australian Ice Hockey League. So Jade Galbraith was relieved of his duties at the Adelaide Adrenaline, or mutually departed ways between the two clubs. And I always sit back and I always think about when coaches or players depart clubs and they head off to somewhere else, or they move to a different club or a different country. I always think we need to thank these people for coming and giving up their time to help promote, I suppose, the sport of Australian ice hockey here, because it's not, I suppose, not just a job where you sign a contract and you coach or you play. You're part of the journey of trying to promote this sport here as a minority sport in Australia. So I think we need to take our hats off to anyone who puts in the time and the effort to try and, 1, coach, or 2, play, or even a medic or a team manager or someone like that. I think we need to tip our hats to those people, regardless of the outcome or the situation, because I think it's all part of it. They're playing a part of the journey to help grow Australian ice hockey here. So unfortunately for Jade Galbraith and the Adelaide Adrenaline, they have parted ways. And it'll be interesting to see what happens now moving forward with the Adelaide Adrenaline. I believe Glenn Fole and Joey McDougall are taking the reins for this weekend, and then we'll see during the week or weeks after that where the Adelaide Adrenaline head on their coaching search for the rest of this season, what is left, or seasons beyond 2026 and beyond. So that is news out of Adelaide. I will get stuck into some more coaching news out of Adelaide later on. But while we are on the coaching talk, I will bring our guest in today, the Brisbane Lightning commentator, Lauchlan Eales. Welcome to the Morning Hockey Shot, Lauchlan.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I was just talking about, and obviously you're sitting in the background listening, and you put up the 2 fingers because I was getting confused about someone not playing at AIS Arena. I don't know why I've got it in my head, but
I can't remember who it is, but someone played. I believe they had 2 home games at Phillips still before they moved to AIS. But I think we were one of the first. I think it was the second trip down to AIS was us, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I thought it was Brisbane. I don't know why. Just on the coaching scene, I suppose, just talking about Jade Galbraith departing ways from the Adrenaline. The Lightning have got a new coach this season, an import coach as well, not someone that's local. How much of an impact has that had, bringing in this fresh coach for the Lightning this season?
I think it's been huge, to be honest with you. This team, if you look at them on paper, I definitely think that they're quote unquote, outperforming where most people thought that they would be, especially myself. I kind of had them kind of in that 6th spot fighting for that last playoff spot. And I mean, the coaching has been very well, very good this season. He's getting a lot out of players, and they're playing a very kind of gritty style, which I know for fans is fun to watch, especially when we're trying to grow the game here in Australia. And I think that coaching 100%, you need the right coach who can get the best out of your players, especially at this level. And I believe that it's been massive for them so far.
Is there anything that you've noticed from your position that with this new coach that's come in, that you've seen that the Lightning have, I suppose, done different from previous seasons?
I think he's definitely switching things up a lot more. There was kind of in past, you would see that they'd kind of not be happy with the status quo, but there'd be less experimenting with lines. Like you look at the game against the Melbourne Ice a couple weeks ago, Coach Lundqvist started the fourth line up top. And yes, that's an opportunity because it was getting to take the opening face-off against Dave Booth or whatnot. But like he's putting trust in that fourth line. They're getting to work. Like there's a lot of young guys who are getting time now, and I think it's helping because it kind of gives a belief within the squad of that anyone, if you work hard enough, you can get in the side. I think that's the belief they're trying to promote. Now, whether that is able to carry this team to bigger and better things, we will see. That's left to be seen yet, because I think there definitely is still work. This team definitely does still need work to get to a potential championship contender team. But I believe, yes, the coaching 100% has been massive. The coaching change for this team, and Coach Lundqvist has been incredible. Just the way he manages the game as well. He's not afraid to take his timeouts early. And we've seen a couple times in games this year where they've started to get off to a lull in the first period a little bit. And then the coach has taken that timeout, or like in the first period and sometimes in the first 10 minutes. And he's very good at kind of managing momentum, I believe, which is huge for this Lightning team.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a couple of comments in the chat just quickly. Perth is the team that I was thinking of. Won't get a chance to play at AIS this season. We do have Julie Sugden in the chat saying good morning as well.
Morning, Julie.
We'll know who Julie is, owner of the Brisbane Lightning. So good morning, Julie, and a few comments in there as well. Steve Moller. Lightning were the second weekend at AIS, split the weekend 8-6 on Lightning and Saturday 4-6 Brave on Sunday. Absolutely. Just speaking of the young people that you sort of touched on a little bit there, the young talent that the Brisbane Lightning have with the new coach and coming through. You've obviously seen the evolution of the Lightning to get to where they are right now in the season, sitting at the top half of the standings. How surprised are you? And it's funny because when I've got full disclosure, I've got connections to the Lightning, and obviously Julie was just in the chat, and I've had chats with Julie previously where we've spoken about how close are the Lightning? Are they this close? Are they that close? And I've sort of said to Julie a few times, look, you're probably only a couple of imports away from making that next step, because that's how tight this league is. How are you surprised at the jump that they've made this season?
I think that they're definitely outplaying where they're supposed to be. And I know I'm probably not going to be very popular here in Brisbane for saying that. But right now, if you look at where this team is, I was very concerned at the beginning of the season when I first saw the roster, especially defensively. I think that there's a lack of depth on defense that is sometimes getting exposed a little bit this year. If you look at, there have been some big scores to go up against the Lightning, and in the games that they've kept the away team or kept the other team from scoring too many goals. The Brisbane, basically, it's a simple math equation, right? They're averaging about 4.5 goals a season. In games when teams score more than 4.5 goals, they lose. In games that they keep it under 4.5 goals, they win. So essentially, it's been the defense is where everything has been riding on this season, I believe. And I think that we're talking about the young players. It's good for the future. But as of right now, I think it is definitely going to stop this team from being a serious Goodall Cup contender this season. That, like you said, it's really been, they are kind of a couple imports away, but I also think that they're going to need to get the local players to step up as well, big time, in order for this team to contend for a championship.
In terms of that defensive aspect, I suppose the goaltenders become part of that. I wrote in an article a couple of weeks ago about the Brisbane Lightning and how within the top six, Canberra is pretty much the only other team that is close to the Lightning, but their goaltenders have had an even split pretty much of games. Do you think there needs to come a time where they make a decision on who is their number one, or do you think that it'll be an even split right through to finals?
I think it will probably end up being a bit more of an even split. I definitely think that there was a definite number one in mind at the beginning of the season. And just because of the way that people have played, like, you can't keep Jacob Dornbos on the bench when he's been making 58 saves a game when he's come into play, you know? I mean, so it's one of those things that I definitely think there was a number one in mind, and performance-wise, people have been making themselves undeniable, which I believe is good for Brisbane. Like, you want to have competition in the goal, especially because if you have a definite starter and a definite guy who's going to be on the bench and they know their roles to be as such, you can kind of get complacent in goal. Whereas right now in Brisbane, one mistake can cost you the next game, the start in the next game type of thing. So I think that it's a healthy pressure to have on a goaltender, because it kind of forces you to have results. And so far, I think the goaltending has been part of the reason why Brisbane have been so successful this year. They're already one win away from equaling their most ever points in a season, and they still have seven to go, you know? I think also the imports this year, having some real good top quality imports, has been important this year. Tanner Hops, he's already the club's leading single season leading goal scorer. He passed Jordan McTaggart, I think 2-3 games ago. So it's been important. The team is building. They're getting better quality guys in here. And I think that the inclusion of an import defender next year could be huge to kind of lift everyone just with some experience. But I think Brisbane right now is in a very good spot moving forward.
I am here with Lauchlan Eales, the Brisbane Lightning commentator. If you've got a comment about the Lightning, drop it in the chat and I can get it up on the screen. You did just touch on Tanner Hops, and I was going to talk to you about Tanner Hops on today's show. It seems like Tanner Hops is, or more recently, I think, has just exploded. The first player to 50 points this season in the Australian Ice Hockey League. What have you seen from Tanner? Because I think it's exciting for the Lightning to have the points leader, the first person to hit 50 points this season. I think it's absolutely massive, and especially since at the start of the season when I was watching the Lightning, for me it was Jules Sterney was the standout, and whenever I watched the Lightning play, I was like, wow, look at Jules Sterney. Now all of a sudden, Tanner Hops has taken the charge and sort of put the team on his back in a scoring sense.
I think Tanner has had the privilege, if you will, of kind of being the import that went less talked about this season, especially at the beginning of the season. All the talk was about Carson Miller coming over from Sydney, just with the season he had last year. And then Sterney came in for a limited amount of time. And we always knew his time here was going to be limited. But when he came in together, then all of a sudden he's the point of the spear. And then Miller's the second thought, which is kind of allow him to just play hockey. It's kind of allowed Tanner to just settle in and play hockey the way that he know, and we know that he can. And, you know, of his 52 points he has right now, 32 of those are assists. So he's just been unbelievable to watch. He kind of goes unseen a little bit on the ice, which I think is what allows him to be as successful as he is, because I don't want to say he's an afterthought, because obviously he's not. When you're a 52-point scorer, you can't be an afterthought. But like, I believe that because he's kind of been going under the radar until this point where he's really kind of exploded, it's definitely allowed him to settle in, play the hockey that he knows he can. And it's been incredible to watch. I know where Brisbane's kind of held back in the past was the quality of imports we have. And this is no offense to any of those guys. I love all of those guys who've come over. They've been great guys, like great to have around the club and hang out. But, you know, when you bring over an import and your import defender is your leading point scorer with 37, you know, that's not necessarily a great output from an import. You really want the imports in this league to be not just here, but 2-3 levels above. Look at guys like David Booth. Look at guys like Ty Wishart. You know, that's what you want your imports to be. And I think this is the first time we're seeing that kind of production out of Brisbane imports, and getting the production you expect out of your imports. And it's definitely taking the pressure off of a lot of guys, because, you know, last year when they snuck into the finals with the conference system, they really had to rely on a lot of the local guys. I think it was either last season or the season before, Julian Fodor had 42 points as a teenager. So, you know, they're allowing the team to kind of get points from elsewhere as well, too.
Yeah. Steve Muller's in the chat as well. What have the Lightning got for a Dornbus replacement when he goes back to the Dogs next season? Does that leave Trinket as number one, or do they go with an import as a goalie as a number one?
I don't know the exact answer to that because I'm not privy to these kinds of conversations. Like, I'm not a part of these conversations, obviously, when they're happening with the management on who brings in imports. Nor should I have any input in that. I'm a commentator. Like, I'm not. But I believe it's going to be interesting. I know that Jake is very happy up here, but I imagine he will head back to Sydney next year just to have that starting role, just to not have to compete as hard. But, I think that both of those guys are happy up here right now. I'd love to see both of them stay because right now I think we have the best local goaltender pairing in the league, which I know Brisbane fan Jake and Mattis both as people too are such lovely people to have around the barn. Like, I've never seen Jake Dornbos not smiling ever. So he's like, both of these guys are so incredible to have around the barn. I know morale wise in the team, they're very good to have as well. So I think if Jake does go back to the Dogs, it's going to be very sad, but also like happy for him because, it's going to help the league grow too, having better goaltenders around the league as well. But I think an import could be a move. I know the Lightning had an import goaltender last year and he was good, but I mean, when you have the same production out of the two locals and you're not necessarily using an import spot. I have a weird belief also on import goaltenders in this league, which I'm not going to rant about because I'll take up all your time. But I believe that there's this weird kind of cycle where import goaltenders will hold back the growth of Australian goaltenders, but Australian goaltenders will hold back the growth of this league, if that makes sense.
It sort of does. Yes, it sort of does.
That sounds really, really bad to say, and I don't mean it badly at all. But I mean, you're bringing in an import goaltender that takes a spot away from an Australian guy who's not going to get minutes, which are key to their growth. But if you also bring in, say, an AHL quality goaltender who's going to allow 2 a game, then all of a sudden you've changed the entire season for your team. So goaltending in this league is a very sharp double-sided sword, I believe.
Yeah, I always look at the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League who have a no import goaltender rule, and it's all local goaltenders.
Which for development is great.
Yeah, and it might have taken some time, but now in the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League, there is some really, really young, talented Australian goaltenders that are doing amazing things.
Look at the Boxall tournament from last week. The goaltenders were incredible, and there weren't many goaltenders who were not young either. I know Katie Meyer, who for Queensland played incredibly this past tournament. So the goal on the women's and on the men's side too, goaltending, the future is very bright in this country for goaltenders. It really is, but it's going to take some time for these guys to get to the next level where you're seeing guys go overseas to play more. Like I know Trinket has gone overseas to play in America. I know there's other goaltenders who have, and this is valuable to them, I believe. But yeah, I think the league could definitely do with a policy like that, but I also see the logistical almost nightmare that it would create in the AIHL.
We've got a comment here from Sky. As a Melbourne Ice fan, import Asian goalie and a little stronger defense.
Tatsu's been incredible. Tatsunoshi Nishida is one of the best goaltenders, if not the best goaltender in this league. Just he's been incredible to watch, even last year as well. I love the little things he does, and it kind of shows the Japanese style of sport, whereas they kind of treat it very disciplined, almost like a martial art, where if you look at Tatsu, he's smaller than some other goaltenders in this league, but his positioning and his technique is so polished that he's an incredible to watch. And he's a huge part of this Melbourne Ice run. That is, I know there's so many other guys on that team that you can't point at one finger, but Ishida has been massive for them 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be interesting to see the Brisbane Lightning goaltender situation next season. When like the Matus news was massive when it happened, just how young Matus still is and talented, everyone could see. So that was massive for the Lightning. But yeah, it will be interesting to see that going forward. One of the players I wanted to touch on, and I've written about before, and I just love watching him play, and I believe he's probably a bit of a cult hero at the Lightning, is Batu Gendanov. When I was watching the Adelaide game, and it's so unique that, and there are players in the AI, but it's sort of unique where Batu can start as a forward and then can shift into defence if need be. And the Adelaide game that happened when they played the doubleheader over at Adelaide a couple of weeks ago. How massive is Batu Gendanov in the scheme of, if the Lightning want to win a Goodall Cup and go deep in the finals? How big? I know he's physically big, but in terms of the team, how big is Batu for the Lightning?
I think that if the Lightning are to win a Goodall Cup, Batu Gendanov will be a part of that for sure. What he brings to this league is, a lot of people don't realize it when you watch him on the stream as well too. Until you see him play in person, you have no idea what his game is about. This guy is on skates 7 foot tall. He's every bit of 6'6", 6'7" off of them. He can move faster than half of the, like in a sprint from end line to end line, he beats 90% of the guys on the team. I guarantee it. He's insanely quick. He's insanely powerful, and he's very versatile. Like you said, he's played every position on the ice. I don't know how true this is, but I heard a couple years ago, I believe last year, that the first team that actually reached out to Batu Gendanov to bring him to Australia was bringing him here to play goaltender. So that I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that. And he's played every position on the ice before. So having him, he is one of the few ice hockey players I've ever seen that should just have a U next to his position. He's not a forward, he's not a defender, he's a utility guy. And he, especially when we talked about how much the defense has struggled just with depth this year and not a lot of experience, especially when, guys like Neil Pretorius have been out of the lineup for a couple weeks now. Other guys like, and there's been some injuries as well at the back. And having a guy like Batu, who not only can, but is willing to go wherever you put him on the ice, has been huge. And I think every team in this league, if for some reason Batu Gendanov were to not come back to Brisbane next year, which I'm pretty sure he already has said he has full intention on staying here, but if for some reason he weren't, there would be a line out the door of other teams in this league trying to sign him, just because of how versatile he is.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think he's going anywhere.
No.
I think he likes Brisbane. I think Brisbane like Batu as well. And as I said, the vibe that I get is that he's a bit of a cult hero with the fans as well.
100%.
Yeah.
And he's, there's a few of those guys in this team. And I think the way that Brisbane has embraced a hockey club has been awesome. Because I know a lot of people didn't really expect it. I know Queensland isn't necessarily where you think about first off when you think about Australian ice hockey. It's probably the last place you think, other than like maybe the Northern Territory. But like for us to have embraced, they've sold out almost 50 games in a row. You can't, like, part of the reason why I tried so hard to become the commentator for the Lightning was because I couldn't get tickets. I couldn't see their games because they would sell out so quickly. Like, I'm partially joking when I say that, but like I'm being pretty true when I say that. The way that this city has embraced this team has been inspirational, to say the least. Like this team kind of came about very it was very quick how everything happened. We don't need to go into details on how it happened. People already know the story, but it came about quick. And I think the city has embraced this club in a way that I don't think many people know. And in a way, like when you talk to people don't even know that we have a team here. So then they'll find out that we have a team here and go, oh, so yeah, it'll probably be easy to get tickets. It's probably not a big thing. And then they'll look and it's just sold out. So I definitely think that the future of hockey is bright here in Brisbane, especially when you look at the young kids as well. There's so much talent coming through the youth here in Brisbane. There's a lot of guys who I think are going to become those kind of cult heroes here in Brisbane. There's guys like Sasha Rapchuk, Aram Rapchuk. Both of those guys already starting to be viewed that way. Luca We Met is another one. I'm just looking at the roster up here because there's too many names to, like, Braden Costa, who's just joined the team as well. He's already, you see people like his jersey in the auction sold big time a couple weeks ago already. Like there's so many guys in this team and there's so many characters that the city of Brisbane as a whole is kind of seen as a bit of a weird city anyway. So to have all these like characters on the team, I think perfectly kind of complements Brisbane.
I know Luca is very much highly thought of within the Lightning. So that's no surprise as well that you mentioned Luca. There is a couple of comments here. I think it's about your Batu, Julie, with a few emojis there. Sky saying Batu for goalie. And we do have a comment from Matt Meyer. Loving the goalie debate. Agree with Lauchlan, double-edged sword, but I lean towards a local development argument that's coming from a goalie dad as well.
This is a
Matt
person,
Meyer.
by the way, who a lot of this conversation has happened with. Is Matt Meyer and I have talked about this a bit before. But yeah, it's you have to lean towards the local development, like we said before. And, you know, like I mentioned Katie before and her performance at the Boxall tournament. It's without giving these people a shot, they don't give a chance to show themselves. Like the game I'll use for an example, I believe it was the third game of the season for the Lightning. They were on the road Saturday night in Melbourne against the Ice, and Dornbos got the start, I believe, just because Trinka had played the first two games and Dornbos was just getting the start. And he made 58 saves and we won down there in overtime. It was the first loss that the Ice got handed all year. It's without that opportunity, though, we would have never got to see that performance out of him and know that he's capable of those performances, which I think, yeah, you need the local guys to get these opportunities to show what they can do, because without it, they're never going to improve. Yeah,
absolutely. I am here with Lauchlan Eales, the Brisbane Lightning commentator. Drop a comment in the chat before I let Lauchlan head off for the morning. Andrew Egan, good morning from a hotel in Canberra, fellas. Melbourne Ice road trip in full swing. They do have a big contingent heading up there. Sky East and Brisbane have a great fan base. We have loved going to Brisbane games, cheap travelling, no need for a hire car close to the train station. And Amanda Dixon, a lot of people know Amanda from the AIHL. We love Matt Meyer. And Corey Cantina, just on your comment, he stood on his head that game.
And it was an incredible. It was honest. I've been watching ice hockey for 28 years. I've lived in Philadelphia and Detroit. I quote unquote no ball when it comes to this game. That performance from Jacob Dornbos down in Melbourne was one of the best goaltending performances I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was. And like I said, he doesn't get the opportunity to have that performance if he doesn't get a start. So it's.
Yeah. Julie Sugden as well in the comments. We love the traveling fan bases. They bring so much color and noise to Brisbane. Just talking about Brisbane, I know this is probably going to be like a really big question, I suppose. When you look at stuff like the AIS Arena, Canberra's moving from Phillip, and I look at Phillip and I look at Boondall, and I'll probably think to myself, I've never been to Phillip, but they sort of look similar.
Don't compare the two. They do not compare the two.
But
do not Phillip. Yeah, I'll
just
keep
like
my comments to myself on the Phillip.
But in terms of like a local rink, just your standard local rink, I look at both of them on the stream, and I have been to Boondall, obviously. But when you look at what the Brave have been able to do with the AIS Arena, just nudging the needle and changing the culture and the look of ice hockey in Canberra. Now, when we've had Stephen Campbell on, they're the third highest attended team in Canberra now. So there's two rugby teams and then the Brave. They're a hot ticket. They're in the Canberra Times. ABC News shows up now to cover them weekly.
The cavalry definitely helped them with that too. But
yes, I would agree as well. Do you think if Brisbane had something like that, that would get very much similar?
100%. 100%. You could put this to, and it's just the logistical challenges, because obviously it's stupidly expensive to run this. It's building the rink is logistically a nightmare. It's, but I genuinely believe that if you move the Brisbane Lightning down the road, so I'm 2 minutes up the road from Boondall, from the Boondall Ice Rink, and about 3 minutes down the road from the Brisbane Entertainment Center. If you put this Brisbane Lightning team in the Brisbane Entertainment Center and promoted it enough, they would put 14,000 people in that rink every single week. I genuinely believe that. And that's not just Brisbane. That's every team in this country. If the AIHL was promoted better, and was like, if the teams had, because look at how many teams are selling out. Well, there's But what is cool about it though is has some of my first ever hockey game I ever saw was at the Joe Louis Arena, right? I've seen tons of games. I've been to Winter Classics before. Those experiences don't compare to the AIHL, and I will tell you why. When you are sitting 300 feet away from the rink, 400 feet away from the rink, right? It's a cool atmosphere. The barn's big, it's packed, it's loud. But when you get to stand on the boards and there's a net in front of you, not glass, a net, you feel like you're standing on the rink. Like the first game I ever saw at Boondall, we won't talk about who was playing, but the first game I saw at Boondall was an unbelievable experience just because it's the first time I ever got to experience standing with a net, standing that close to a game. And it makes it feel like it's happening 10 times faster. It's a unique experience that I think a lot of it's weird, right? Because a lot of the Australians I've spoken to have said, oh, I wish we could play in big arenas and big, play, which obviously would help grow the game to a level that it would be unrecognizable. And the amount of talent you'd be able to bring over would be incredible. And, the monetary, like they'd be making more money and everything. But at the same time, I think the Australian Ice Hockey League, what makes us popular on a world stage is because of how unique we are. It's because of the fact that this almost has a charm, right? Minor league baseball, a lot of people now are starting to go back and look at what's happening in England with football right now. Premier League teams are struggling to sell tickets because it's been made too expensive. It's been made too corporate, too polished, too washed. Teams are starting to go back to the National League and watch teams in the 3rd, 4th, 5th div. There will be more people that watch this game as the product at a higher level becomes more stale. More people will trickle down to these products. Just look at the viewership from the AHL last year. The Calder Cup was the most watched time in history for the Calder Cup. And I think genuinely that these leagues are going to thrive in the future because of just how stale things are starting to get and that's not just ice hockey. It's every sport is becoming too corporate, too stale, and I think that the fans here, and because the fans here feel like they have a say, if you will, right? You can talk to your owner, right? Like I'm a Flyers fan. I could never even dream of getting into a room and speaking with the owner of the Flyers and say, hey, this is what I think. But I can talk to Julie and Mike any day of the week and say, hey, that this is what I think. And they'll sit there and listen to you. And I think that having that is what it's the local feel is what is going to build community with these clubs in 5, 10, 15 years. Like, because obviously a bunch of the more established clubs already have this, but the Lightning will have a true community in about 3-4 years. They already do, but the community is going to grow, and these clubs aren't going to be looked at as just a hockey team anymore. It's going to be viewed as a family, as a community. And I know the Mustangs are really good about that. The Ice are really good about that. The Brave are really good about that. The Lightning are good about it. We've just only been around for 3 years, So that is what I think that this country has to offer to the game of ice hockey, for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot in that. And I've had Eric Bolner on, and we've spoken and touched on that a little bit about why we love the AI. And it is because of those things, because of the fact that you have that local feel and you feel like you're involved, and there's so much local passion involved in the league and the clubs, etc. Sky Eastham as well, just chucking a comment. As a fan, you forget how much the players can hear you at the rink with nets.
They hear everything, everything. The amount of times that standing behind the net, I have gotten goaltenders to sit there and crack up to themselves just by saying the most off-putting thing you could imagine, just random things you can imagine. And it's, that experience is when you go to, and obviously there are fans that take it a little far sometimes. It does happen, but I think part of that, the charm for this league, especially up here in Queensland, where, Brisbane's a town all about rugby league and, all that type of hard-nosed type of Brisbane sees itself as a quote-unquote blue-collar town. I think that ice hockey fits so perfectly in that, and just giving people – the amount of people that I know have brought friends and have just said, just stand here behind the goal and talk to that, basically to the away goaltender. And guys have a blast because you feel like you're on top of the game. A guy gets checked into the net right in front of you. You're face to face with the guy sometimes, it's an experience unlike anything you can ever get. And if you want that experience in the NHL, you're going to pay $1,000 for it. You pay $25 to go down to your local team. It's the same thing I say about fans in the A-League, right? Like because I know you're a Melbourne Victory supporter as well. And if people just embraced our local game, which I think hockey's doing a better job of than the A-League is, but the fact that we have people embracing the local versus like there's far less people that I know that go, oh, I watch the NHL. I have, I'm a Calgary Flames fan. But no, I don't watch the AIL. That's AIHL. It's rubbish. That doesn't happen in the AIHL. The people who over here support a team over there still support their local side, which I think is a step above what other leagues that are quote unquote not their competitors because they're seen as higher up. I think that over time, that's the AIHL's their foot to stand on when it comes to growing in this country will be the fact that the local communities are so involved in these teams. Yeah,
and I've noticed over my time, I actually think there's AIHL fans that don't support any other team in the world, just their AIHL team. They don't watch NHL. They don't watch PWHL. They don't watch the Elite League in UK. They just watch the AIHL and that's it. That's 100%. Their team.
I have a friend who is that way. He watches the AI and the AWIHL. That's his year-round ice hockey. And if you try and show him an NHL game, he'll be like, turn that off. I have no interest in it. And it has nothing to do with the quote unquote quality of it or whatever. It's the fact that, like I talked about before, these clubs now no longer really identify with your community. There's a few NHL clubs that still do a good job about that, usually in the smaller markets, but like your Chicago Blackhawks, your New York Rangers, your Philadelphia Flyers, they don't care about their communities anymore, nor kind of should they. Nor should they, but they're at a position where they don't have to. And I think that the teams here really having to rely on the community the way they do is the strong point of this league. And I think some people would look at it as a weakness. I think it's a strength. It really is.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Couple of comments here before I let you go, mate. Got Dave Eastham just talking about Brisbane Lightning fan engagement is amazing straight after the game. You couldn't do that at an arena. They are very good, the Lightning, across their fan engagement, across their socials and everything. Steve Muller as well. There's a fine line for teams in smaller, more intimate rinks to be financially viable, and the next step, like the AIS move. We do have a comment as well here from Andrew Egan, a big one. Just paid $1,000 for NHL tickets at the Garden. Pastor won't know what travelled halfway across the world to see him play, but for a fraction of the cost, my daughter gets to watch her hockey coach play, have a chat to the coach at Brekkie and on a road trip, and still gets to enjoy the game we love. Levels to it, of course, but the AIHL is a great community experience. So Andrew Egan's talking about the Melbourne Ice and his daughter being able to talk to Kerry Goulet.
Just to touch on that for a second, that is the thing that this league does better than any other league in the entire world, right? I'm pretty sure it is a league-wide thing because I notice every team does it. But after the game, the first thing they do, they skate around a circle, thank every fan for being in the building because they know without the fans, this league doesn't exist. With, Brisbane, you can go up and talk to the players after the game in the bar upstairs, and have them sign a stick or whatnot. I know whenever a stick breaks on the ice here in Brisbane, the social media people are running to go get it because they give it to a young fan like after the game usually, and they'll get the player to sign it too. And the thing is, like he said, Pasternak will have no idea that you flew across the world for him. But the fact that I know a player, like just to use one, for example, just out of the lineup, like a Sasha Rapchuk, right? Pasternak's not going to know you flew halfway across the world, but if you tell Sasha Rapchuk, I drove halfway across town to watch you guys play, they're going to be appreciative of it, Yeah. And it's one of those things that to the kids, especially, they don't know, like realistically, they don't know the difference. Like whether you're talking to, Brad Campbell or you're talking to like Jaromir Jagr, to these kids, they don't know that and they don't care. Because when you're at the arena, you've bought a ticket to go in, it's a day out. It's an event. You go and you see these guys on the ice. You see them and the social media all around the league. I'm going to give a shout out to the social media people all around the league for making these guys look like stars, making these guys look like superstars. You would never know that these guys are working other jobs 9 to 5 every day, toiling just to be able to play the game that they love. You'd never know that when you're a little kid because of these guys who are out there presenting this league to make these guys look like superstars. And that is another huge thing that this league does tremendously well versus other leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a comment on Instagram from Little Fox. The NHL games I've been to were great, but it felt disconnected because it was so big. I definitely enjoy being closer to our games. Makes it feel way more special. Totally agree. There is something about it. And just one last one, mate, to finish it. Julie Sugden, the kids line up to get autographs from the players. They're encouraging young players to strive every game. It's great to see. Lachlan, thanks for jumping on this morning, mate. I know the Lightning, they got a weekend off, the Lightning, and then they're back next
back
weekend
at home against Adelaide. Yep.
Yeah.
Big weekend off. Last weekend was a very tough road trip down to Newcastle, where, by the way, we have still never won at Newcastle away. Have only beaten the North Stars twice in 10 appearances against them. So there is kind of definitely, I don't want to go ahead and say there's a curse already, but I definitely think there is something about Brisbane that doesn't like playing against Newcastle. But, one win and they're essentially in. That's going to be the thought this weekend. Adelaide, they're going to be a lot to prove. So it's going to be a very, very good game. A lot of good games this weekend as well. But thank you so much for having me.
With no Brisbane Lightning this weekend, what's on the schedule for you?
Uni and more uni assignments. So I'm going to be sitting pretty much right here for the next 36 to 72 hours, and I'm going to be plugging away. So, yeah.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly right.
Lauchlan, mate, thanks for jumping on. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch up with you at a rink hopefully sometime this year, maybe next season.
Yeah, sounds good, mate.
There he goes. Lauchlan Eales, the Brisbane Lightning commentator. I hope you enjoyed Lachlan's insights into the Lightning and touching on, I suppose, the league as well. Just having a chat about rinks and AIS Arena, things like that. It definitely is growing. I think the AI is definitely growing each season, and there are some comments in here. I know that Steve Moller, it gets more expensive each year to have a team in the AI. And no doubt it does. And some of the people that I've spoken to, owners, etc., they sort of touched on how expensive it actually is to get a team together and run a team each season. So I'm guessing, I suppose, Steve, it's probably one of those things where it's just the evolution, I suppose, of the league. Each season, it's going to improve and get better, we hope, which in turn means it's probably going to get more expensive across that journey as well. That is definitely not a surprise. Sky Eastham as well. AIHL fans are our hockey family. We see them more than our own. I totally feel that as well. The older I've gotten and the more invested I've gotten into hockey, it's obviously my number one sport. I think it's the greatest sport in the world, and it's a sport that I actually play now as well. I see more of my hockey family than I suppose my own family, not my intimate family. In my four walls here, but I suppose extended family. So I definitely feel that, Sky, as well. Got Sky here. Volunteers keep this league running and enjoyable. Absolutely. Without volunteers, there is no league. And I feel like I play a role in that as well. Obviously, this is a volunteer gig for me. I don't get paid to sit here on a Saturday morning and talk about hockey. I do this to try and promote the sport and also the clubs and the players and people like Lauchlan as well, who need to have their time to shine as a commentator, because they do a mountain of work each home game as well. Julie Sugden as well, Sky Eastham, our volunteer, makes this league possible. Absolutely. A great interview, guys, from Julie and Sky, saying thank you to Lauchlan. I do appreciate Lauchlan jumping on. Just having a look at the menu now. I wanted to touch on the Brave and the Ice, and I know that Sky and Dave are in the chat there, and Andrew Egan was in the chat as well, who is Andrew's in Canberra. I believe Sky and Dave are probably in Canberra as well, or they're travelling up there right now. And I have plenty of other friends who are travelling up to Canberra today, AIS Arena, that are Melbourne Ice fans. So it's going to be a lot of Melbourne Ice fans up there at AIS Arena. But the Brave and the Ice game is absolutely massive. In terms of this week, and I'm going to give my pick of the week, and it's probably giving it away early. But the 2024 Goodall Cup finalists, they're both, the Melbourne Ice have won 11 in a row. The Canberra Brave have won 6 in a row, and they're building the Canberra Brave. So this matchup across this weekend at AIS Arena, packed house, be 3,000 people in there both days. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere. These two games are absolutely huge. They're the definition of a blockbuster, or I suppose the hottest ticket in town, is absolutely no joke when I look at these two teams. The Melbourne Ice have got 5 players in the top 10 for points. And when I look at the Brave have actually only got 1 player in the top 20, Dominic Canick, for points this season. So when you look at the Brave and what they've been able to do, it very much is spreading the load, I feel, across the entire Brave roster. And when I had Lauchlan on before, we did touch on how they've split their goaltenders pretty much this season as well, just like the Brisbane Lightning, giving each goaltender an opportunity. So when I look at the Brave in the Ice this weekend, I wanted to highlight that because I think it's an absolutely blockbuster contest between these two teams. And it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the season if we see a return of the 2024 Goodall Cup final with these two teams. Because I really do think, obviously, the Melbourne Ice have been the benchmark all season. Still haven't lost in regulation, which is absolutely amazing when we're hitting the back end of July. And the Canberra Brave, and I've been talking about it for a few weeks now, and I've put some articles up on my website at andrewkmacdougall.com.au about the Canberra Brave. I did have an article a couple of weeks ago. Are they the sleeping giant in the AIHL? Because they're starting to motor and get their legs going. The Canberra Brave, they're looking really, really good. Andrew Egan has got a comment in the chat as well. Last time we met, we belted a team that hadn't got motoring yet. This is the real test against the Brave for us. I do agree with Andrew Egan. It is a real big test for the Melbourne Ice to head up to Canberra. Also left the comment, barn burner incoming, Brave are motoring now, Ice rock solid week to week. Yeah, absolutely. I think it will be a barn burner. I don't know whether or not David Booth is returning yet. This would be, I think, week 2. With David Booth being out of the Ice lineup. So if David Booth is back in, that'll be massive for the Melbourne Ice. I'm not sure what's happening now. I know they do have a few other injuries as well. Annie Abbott is in the chat as well. A Brave family are looking forward to welcoming the travelling Ice fans to AIS Arena. AIS Arena, I wanted to touch on that as well. I did put out a post on my socials, on my media page, thanking the Canberra Brave. I wanted to thank them on here as well, because last weekend I travelled up to Canberra to watch the doubleheader weekend between the Canberra Brave and the Melbourne Mustangs. In the weeks prior, I had organised with the Canberra Brave to do a vlog sort of video of AIS Arena and my travels up there. So Canberra Brave were very generous in allowing me pretty much full access to AIS Arena. I had to do an induction and things like that for AIS Arena, and I had access to the tunnel and around the players, and I could basically go anywhere I wanted to within the arena. So I've gone and taken a lot of footage. I went out to Caribou Kingston as well. I got in contact with Leroy and the people out of Caribou Kingston. So I took some video out there and did an interview as well with one of the staff members, and got some food and things like that, and took some footage there, then headed off to the rink. And I've got around about 180 videos of footage that I've got to go through from my trip last weekend at AIS Arena. So just wanted to thank the Canberra Brave for that. And the AIS Arena, on my socials, I did put up this post as well from behind the bench. I think when people go to AIS Arena, they'll have an expectation in their head, and the Melbourne Ice fans will get that today when they go there. But once you get there and you step outside the car, or however you're traveling there, and you stand in front of the arena, it will blow you away, I think, even before you actually step into the arena, because when you get out of the car, it's so different to stepping out to O'Brien or Boondall. We just had Lauchlan on. You're actually standing out the front of an actual sports arena, and the vibe and feel is totally different. And then once you go in there, the feeling inside the arena, it's next level. And it really when I spoke to Stephen Campbell after I got in there, and Stephen Campbell, the CEO of the Canberra Brave, asked me, "What do you think?" And it exceeded my expectations. I had something in my head of what I thought the arena would look like. But once I stepped in there, that totally blew that out of the water. And I'm pretty comfortable in saying that for me anyway. It's the best hockey experience in this country, AIS Arena, in terms of a full bowl rink, 3,000 people. There's not a bad seat in the house. You can hear all the action still. In terms of a hockey facility, a hockey-specific facility. I think places like O'Brien are still the benchmark in terms of built for hockey, in terms of change rooms, proper benches, proper penalty boxes, things like that. It's purpose-built, O'Brien, for ice hockey. But in terms of actual hockey experience, I feel like AIS Arena gives you that. I think AIS Arena is the best hockey experience in the country. And then you see things like, as we did touch on as well when I was talking to Lauchlan, it was during the week, and Steve Moller sent me this from the Canberra Times. So the Brave sellouts prompt talks for AIS Arena upgrades. That's in the Canberra Times. So you can see how much AIS Arena is moving the needle, not only for, I suppose, the Canberra Brave, but it's moving the needle for ice hockey now in Australia. So the Canberra Brave have been able to show exactly what can be achieved with ice hockey here, especially for the Australian Ice Hockey League. If you've got a dream and a vision, it can be fulfilled, and the Canberra Brave are actually showing that. I've got Brent Russ in the comments as well. Watch out for those wild sports trainers on the bench. So Brent Russ is a sports trainer for the Canberra Brave, and when I was there on the weekend, I did interview Brent. So Brent's going to feature in my video, and I took some footage of Brent doing his work on the bench as a sports trainer, helping out the guys and working the door and things like that. So Brent will be a part of my video as well. So thanks, Brent, for jumping in the chat. Awesome person. And the Canberra Brave, absolutely generous with everything they supplied me across last weekend. I couldn't thank them enough for what they're able to do for me. So if you have a chance to get to AIS Arena, get up there and check it out. If you can't get there this season, obviously they will be there next season. And I'm guessing things will evolve and change, and they want to fit more people in and get more seats in. I know they were looking at, or last week, and I think they added an extra 40 seats. They found space for 40 seats last weekend. So they're trying to continually evolve AIS Arena. But in terms of hockey experience, get out there and check it out. It's absolutely amazing. Also on the menu, we do have Jeff Fody, who has departed the Adelaide Rush in the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League. So as the AI gets closer to finals, obviously we're getting closer and closer to the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League. The Australian Women's Ice Hockey League, it's no secret that it's my favourite league in this country. I'm a play-by-play commentator. I try and promote it across my Dub Zone Australia on Instagram account, graphics, videos, things like that. And also it will be across my website now that I have, andrewkmacdougall.com.au, and also on the Morning Hockey Shot. I'm hoping to have this Morning Hockey Shot every Saturday throughout the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League. But during the week, there was big news that Jeff Fody and the Adelaide Rush have mutually parted ways after just one season in the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League. It's a bit of a shame for me, because Jeff Fody is obviously someone who's heavily involved in the South Australian ice hockey community, done a mountain of work across state women's, Ginsberg, De Vries, and also obviously now the Adelaide Rush as well. Was part of the assistant coaching scene there when Joey McDougall was the Adelaide Rush head coach, and I did drop an article on my website about Jeff Fody departing Adelaide Rush, search for new AIHL head coach as Jeff Fody departs. Minor premiers last season, the Adelaide Rush, the first time for 15 years that the Adelaide Rush were minor premiers. They had an absolutely outstanding season, the Adelaide Rush last year, and they played electric hockey, the Adelaide Rush last season under Jeff Fody. They found Jordan Kulbita was their import star that they had, that they picked up and brought into the team. But Jeff Fody was able to instill, along with Joey McDougall, because it was building, I suppose, over recent seasons for the Adelaide Rush. They were able to instill belief in a winning culture, I feel, and they played an exciting brand of hockey. Whenever you watch the Adelaide Rush, they scored 76 goals across the season. They had a plus 21 goal differential, the Adelaide Rush. So I always felt like under Jeff Fody, they played this really attacking style of hockey. They were sound defensively. They didn't really give up a lot. So I felt like they weren't just attacking non-stop and over-attacking. So it was disappointing to see Jeff Fody, and obviously I have no idea on personal situations and things like that for Jeff Fody or the Adelaide Rush. But they are on the search for a new head coach. So it'll be interesting to see the Adelaide Rush in the 2025-26 season, which won't be far away. the A-double will start to roll around. Andrew John Egan in the comments, good coach. They were very good under him. Really went up another notch after some telling performances the season before. Yeah, I totally agree. They were so good to watch, and obviously Andrew Egan is out there watching the Melbourne Ice Women's on a weekly basis, so got a fair slice of the Adelaide Rush across the season just gone. Andrew Egan, I totally agree, mate. I felt like they really did go up another level under Jeff Fodey, and they were really, really good to watch last season in the Australian Women's Ice Hockey League. So it will be interesting to see how they go, or when they sign up their new coach for the 2025-26 season. Only 1 year at the helm for Jeff Fodey. On the menu, what have we got left on the menu? The standings. So I'll have a quick look at the standings heading into this weekend. As we see here, the Melbourne Ice sitting on top with 55 points. And as I did mention earlier, they haven't lost in regulation, which is unbelievable. After 21 games, still have not lost in regulation. The Thunder are sitting in second. They had a great weekend last weekend against the Rhinos. You got the Lightning sitting in third, the Brave in fourth. Obviously, they'll play the Melbourne Ice today. The North Stars in fifth. The Mustangs, they've dropped right down to sixth spot. The Adelaide Adrenaline, who have got 3 games in hand on the Mustangs, and they play the Melbourne Mustangs this weekend. And the Central Coast Rhinos, they sit down at the bottom of the Australian Ice Hockey League standings. So that is the standings heading into week 14. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of the standings. It will be interesting. Obviously, the Melbourne Ice, they are sitting on top and they won't move from that top position. But those other positions on the standings, there's not much separating the teams from second down to sixth, really, when you think about it. The Mustangs have dropped off a little bit, but they are still close enough to, if they win a few games, and I suppose the Thunder or the Lightning drop a few, they can really peg that right back and start moving back up to the top half of that top six. So it is really interesting heading into this back end of the season as we get closer and closer to finals. August is not that far away, and then we'll head right into finals. So just teams jostling for position in that top six, and the Adelaide Adrenaline are still sniffing around. They've got 3 games in hand on the Mustangs and a game in hand on the Brave and a couple of games in hand on the Thunder and the North Stars. So I don't think they're probably going to catch those teams with 30 points, but you never know. They might catch the Mustangs if the Mustangs can't get going again. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. I don't expect the top 6 now to change. I think the weekend that the Adelaide Adrenaline had against the Brisbane Lightning was their really, really big chance for the Adelaide Adrenaline to really peg something back in that top 6, and they just couldn't get it done. Steve Mollo in the comments, positions 2 to 6 now, getting very close. I totally agree. It is very, very tight in that 2 to 6 area on the standings. If we just have a look now towards the schedule this weekend, I did mention it earlier. We do have some really big games this weekend. Obviously, we've got the Melbourne, the Perth Thunder, and the Newcastle North Stars. They are playing today at 5 p.m. This is all local time, 5 p.m. I did see Oz Hockey Media and Sean O'Connor with the Graphic put out a post about the Perth Thunders. Today's Perth Thunder Newcastle North Stars game is free on AIHL.tv, which is awesome. So that's the free game this weekend. The Melbourne Mustangs are travelling across to Adelaide for a double header this weekend, 4:15 local time puck drop, and the Melbourne Ice v Canberra Brave at AIS Arena. The puck drop has been pushed back to 7:30 p.m. I do believe that is because the Canberra Raiders are playing this weekend. So I do believe that's why the puck drop has been pushed back, because the Canberra Raiders ground is right next door to AIS Arena. So it could be chaos in the car park there. So I do believe that the puck drop has been changed because of that. If that is incorrect, just let me know in the comments, but I believe that is the case. And obviously tomorrow's 2 p.m. puck drop, Melbourne Ice Canberra, and Sunday 3:30 Perth v Central Coast Rhinos at Arena Ice Arena, and 4:15 puck drop, Melbourne Mustangs v Adelaide Adrenaline. All local times for those games. Sky Eastham in the chat, North Stars v Thunder should be a big game and free on AIHL.tv. Totally agree. It's absolutely a massive, massive game. And Sky, more time to spend at Caribou. Absolutely. Caribou Kingston, and before I sign off, I did say that I wanted to chat about Caribou Kingston. Caribou Kingston, if anyone's in Canberra, get out to Caribou Kingston, see the people out there, go have a chat to Leroy. It's so unique, Caribou Kingston, and it's something I wish that we had more of around the country. It's just hockey specific in Caribou Kingston. You walk in, there's memorabilia absolutely everywhere. There's flags of teams on the wall. There's Canberra Brave stuff everywhere. Obviously, it's in Canberra, so there's going to be Canberra Brave, and the Caribou are strong supporters of the Canberra Brave. Obviously, there's just hockey memorabilia everywhere. Very Canadian. You got all different things on the menu. And if you get a chance to go to Caribou Kingston out at Canberra, go and do that. Check it out. It's absolutely amazing place, and I wish we had more of that sort of stuff across the country in terms of hockey specific or hockey themed places, pubs, anything like that would be awesome. Andrew Egan in the chat. Chaos in the car park if I am driving. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Corey Katina, 7:30 puck drop for traffic reasons. And Steve Moller, correct on the time change for Canberra v Ice game today. So 7:30 puck drop local time. So that'll have me set tonight when I put the feed up at the end of the day. I'll be watching Melbourne Ice Canberra Rove, and I think that's awesome. 7:30 on a Saturday night. Absolutely prime time. So if you get a chance, sign up to AIHL.tv if you're not at the rink and check out one of the best games that we'll have this season, 7:30 tonight. Corey Katina met Leroy at finals last year. Amazing guy. Everyone gets out and support him for what he does for the league. 100%. 100%. When I reached out to Leroy at Caribou Kingston, Corey, straight away, he messaged me back. He wasn't in the country. I believe he was back overseas somewhere. And I just reached out and said, look, I'm heading to Canberra to do this video for the Canberra Brave and AIS Arena. Would you be interested in Caribou Kingston being a part of that? 100%. He said, come in, take some footage, organise for me to talk to people there. So I did that, and Caribou Kingston were awesome. So totally agree about Leroy. Amazing person. And Caribou Kingston is just a super cool hockey-themed pub. So get out if you're in Canberra. Get out and check it out. Annie Abbott, Caribou is the best. Leroy Peterson and his team are awesome. Totally agree. That'll do it for me today on today's show. Morning Hockey Shot. We are live every Saturday at 9 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Instagram was up and running today. I try and get to the comments as much as I can there because they don't pop up in this system. It will go out in podcast form on Spotify, Apple later today as well. You can find my work at andrewkmacdougall.com.au. Follow me on the socials. My media pages at Andrew K. McDougall, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So please go and give me a like and a follow. It is a media page. I think some people will sometimes think that it's my personal page, but it is a media page for all my media stuff. So please check it out, even though it does have my name. Give it a follow. Do all that sort of stuff. You can also support me as well if you want to. You can drop a donation into buy me a coffee for the small donation of a cup of coffee. It is in the description. As I can see, Lauchlan's still sitting in the background having a laugh at me. It's a labour of love what I do here for hockey in all my media stuff. So if you've got a spare couple of dollars, I always say drop it into my little coffee link in the description if you can. But that'll do it for me. My pick of the week, I nearly forgot that. My pick of the week though is the Brave v the Ice. Just before I go, I think that is two big massive games. The two, I suppose, in 4 teams of the competition. Absolutely massive. So get out and check out the Brave v the Ice at 7:30 tonight if you can. If you are getting out to a rink, please enjoy it this weekend. Wherever you're traveling to, if you've got a home game and away game, enjoy it. Have heaps of fun. If you're playing, have an amazing game. I hope you win. I'm playing tomorrow at 4 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon. Sky in the chat. Thanks, AMAC and Steve Moller. Good work, mate. Thank you to both of you. And for people that are tuned in and dropped into the comments, I do really appreciate it. I really hope that the morning hockey shot is hitting the mark on a Saturday morning. I know the shows are going a lot longer than I actually planned for, but once I get talking to people like Lauchlan, we do have a laugh and find interesting things to talk about with whatever team they are covering, because I try to get a different person from a different team each week to talk about the teams that they cover as commentators or media people or CEOs like Stephen Campbell as well. So each week there'll be a different person to have a chat about each team. But that'll do it for me for this week at the Morning Hockey Shot. We'll be back next week at 9 a.m. live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And as I said, please give me a like and a follow across the socials to help the pages grow and the algorithm as well. Subscribe to the YouTube, all that sort of stuff. Give it a like and a comment. It all helps to help the platform grow and also help ice hockey grow. I am Andrew McDougall, or Doogie. A lot of people know me as Doogie. Until next Saturday, enjoy your hockey, enjoy your weekend. If you're playing, absolutely enjoy it. Hope you score a goal or make a save and get a win. But until next Saturday at 9 a.m., I'm Andrew McDougall, and I'll see you then.
Step 1, wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be